Welcome back to WebCafe AI, where we do daily artificial intelligence videos for your personal and business life. If you clicked on this video, that means you want to learn comprehensively everything you need to know about the Pipedream platform when it comes to automation, artificial intelligence, and everything that's encompassed. Therefore, we're going to provide you value in today's video. We're going to give you a full-blown tutorial here with everything you need to do and learn when it comes to using Pipedream. So make sure to give a like for the value that I provide here. Let us know if you want more content when it comes to Pipedream. Also, I hope y'all like our new setting here where we have, we kind of structured our beginning of our videos different, and you'll see later throughout this video how we structured it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in here. We're going to go ahead and explore everything we need to learn about the Pipedream platform, starting with its model and pricing. So if we come to the Pipedream website here, as you see, this is another automation software like Make and Zapier. And essentially this allows us to connect, a ton of different APIs. As you see here, with this software, we can connect over 1,000 different apps here that natively integrates. And then a lot of it has to do with doing custom calls with APIs. One thing you'll notice between softwares like Pipedream and Make relative to Zapier is a huge cost difference. But on top of that, it requires a little bit more coding knowledge and a little bit more understanding of how to do API calls, which isn't a bad thing. Learning how to do that kind of custom work can help you tremendously for any type of thing you're trying to automate in your business or for a client's business. So right off the bat, it is free to use Pipedream. What you're going to see in today's tutorial is a free version. We're going to go ahead and link it down below and you'll be able to create your own account here. Let's go to pricing here, as this is going to be one of the biggest indicators of whether you want to do a platform like this. And as you see here, I'm going to switch to monthly here. It goes from 0, 29, 149, and 749 depending on your use case. What's great is that a lot of these platforms start with $0, so we can really get an understanding intuitively whether we're comfortable with the UI and everything that the platform provides. Knowing this, look at one of the bigger indicators here when it comes to this platform relative to other ones, and that is they put a cap on the amount of active workflows and connected accounts. Now, this could become a pretty big issue if you're scaling or growing as a company. Due to the fact that, with the free plan, we already get access to 5 active workflows and 3 connected accounts, that should be fine. But look at this. This is a big indicator here. As you see here, if we go up to basic $29, we get access to 20 active workflows and only 10 connected accounts. In order to increase from there, we would have to go advanced, which means we can then get unlimited workflows and then get unlimited connected accounts. But as you see here, we deal with a pretty big price tag of $149 a month. Regardless, as you see here with the free plan, we get access to webhooks, pre-built actions, and the ability to write Node, Python, and Bash. So a lot of the fundamental stuff we can do with the free plan, which is always nice. So let's go ahead and jump into this platform and learn everything we need to know. One side note, to sign up, all you need to do is provide an email with Google or your GitHub account, or just simply provide any type of email provider here and sign up for free. So when you launch into your Pipedream dashboard, we got a lot of stuff we're going to go over here today. We're going to go over this entire sidebar here, everything you need to know about it. Then we're going to go and actually build a workflow together. We're going to understand the intricacies of how their UI works. And then on top of that, we're going to finish off this tutorial with us building out an AI automation live, so you can understand how to, one, connect your API key to this platform, but also just intuitively understand how it communicates when dealing with OpenAI and API calls. So right off the bat, a new feature that they added here is going to be projects. So essentially how this works is that you'll create a project and then you'll have workflows associated with that project. So that'll make more sense as we get going here. Workflows is kind of, where we do automations. I believe this is called scenarios in Make. And then obviously Zaps for Zapier. Coming over here, we got sources. So this is where you're going to connect your underlying apps to your account. But as you noticed before, you have a limitation. So you can only do 3 connected accounts when it comes to a free account or free account with Pipedream. From here, we have the accounts that we've connected. When it says sources, though, this is more specifically for the action. So I want to clarify that real quick. And then come down here, we got data stores. Data stores is a way for you to either itemize specific data you want to use in flows. You can also put in code here. So a bunch of different stuff you can do with data stores. Then we got event history. So this is going to show workflows that, and obviously events that happen within those workflows and its past. You can select a date range here. You can filter it by the status, whether it was an error or success, and you can search by the underlying workflow's name. The next tab here we got is settings. So settings essentially is where we're going to be able to, change a lot of stuff in the back end here. So you can change your workspace URL for us, which is WebCafe AI. You can change the email that you want to receive notifications on. And then as you see here, you can even receive error notifications on Slack. But it seems like they want to do that over an advanced plan. But to be honest with you, you could probably set that up natively with one of their workflows if you wanted to and just access their API. From here, though, you have different options for sign in, your workspace ID, whether you want to delete your workspace, and then we got a bunch of different options up here is where you're going to be able to invite members. So if you're with a team, you can invite multiple members here. And I think that's one of the biggest competitive features that I found relative to Zapier is Zapier kind of gatekeeps the ability to add multiple people to your Zapier account. So that could possibly run into issues. From here, though, this is where you're going to be able to add people to your account here. Everything else seems pretty standard here. As you see here, we got our billing and usage, our plan, and then the underlying costs associated every single day with, the different workflows that are currently incurring. So the next tab here is the Explore tab. This is where natively integrated apps show up here. So you can kind of search through here and see if they have a specific app. So do they have Shopify? Let's find out. They do have Shopify. Do they have, see they got Telegram there. They got GitHub there. Do they have, I'm curious. I think they do have Twitter for now, but they did deprecate recently, so they may not have Twitter in the future. Side note, Twitter, you're going to have to do API custom calls now because it seems like they're changing their platform and the way you access their backend. But this is where you'll be able to explore apps that are natively integrated into Pipedream here. Obviously, we can do custom API calls to integrate any type of software if they allow us to access their backend. The next tab here we got is community. So with this, they have a pretty good form here. Think like Stack Overflow. You post like, you have a question and people help you out on the sidebar here. So, this is pretty helpful if you're new to something or want to do a certain feature that may be not readily available. And you can also search through this. They have a ton of different information when it comes to documentation, university support, and so on. What I would say in most cases, go with the community as you're going to be able to get very on-point answers. If you need to actually contact them, this is where support comes into grounds here. They even suggest you go to the community, right? From here, though, essentially, you can even create a support ticket if you want to. And then finally, they got careers. And essentially, if you want to apply to Pipedream, there you go. Now, if you come down here and you go to my account, this is where you're going to be able to get access to your API key with the software here. You can be able to change different stuff about the applications and the front end. And then, one experimental feature was SMS notification, which is not relevant to us right now. So let's go ahead and jump over to sources, so let's go ahead and jump over to workflow here. Now, one thing we should do before we create a project here is I want to point out one other thing is that you can create a new workspace. So you want to associate workflows with, maybe a client or a specific part of your business. You can obviously create more workspaces here. But for now, we're going to go ahead and use our Web Cafe AI workspace here. We're going to go ahead and create a new project. And let's begin. We're going to do test project. And you even have the option, if you choose to do so, to configure it with GitHub Sync. This is pretty cool here. This isn't really a native feature found in Make or Zapier. So keep that in mind. If you're more, use GitHub a lot and you want to access a lot of stuff within GitHub's backend, this could be very helpful. I'm going to go ahead and create the project here. So as you see here, we have our project, and within each project, we have the ability to essentially create our workflows. And if you run into any issues, you can see here, we can give access to the Pipedream support staff. Once we create our project here, we can create folders. So let's go ahead and start by creating a folder, and we're going to just say test run. I'm going to go ahead and say create folder. This is pretty helpful. Honestly, I kind of like this organization or how they organize their UI when it comes to workflows. I find myself in Zapier, they have folders and that kind of structuring, but it does get a little overwhelming. I would prefer there to be multiple workspaces like this context, or at least easy UI like this. From here, though, let's go ahead and go into the new folder here, test run, and let's create a workflow. So once you create a workflow, we're going to be able to create a name here. I'm just going to do AI automation. And then we're going to be able to identify. So there's a lot of stuff here that isn't available in other automation platforms. So we're able to adjust the timeout. So this could actually be pretty useful in the context of AI due to the fact that some of the executions and flows take a little bit more time than typical, right? So when it's doing a lot of output for an AI prompt, you may want to do a higher timeout here. So in this context, something like, a minute or 104 seconds. Memory isn't too relevant for what you're trying to do in most cases. So you can keep that at 256. And then we have all these different options here for this underlying workflow. So do you want to send error notifications? I would assume so. Automatically retry on errors. I typically like doing this for AI automations, but we would need to upgrade. So keep that in mind. Limit concurrency, limit execution rate, eliminate cold starts. Most of this other stuff is not too relevant for us right now. So we're gonna go ahead and create the workflow. So once you come into a workflow here, it's kind of similar to Zapier's UI. We got a trigger here, we got the deploy button here, then we have a bunch of other information relevant to this. Now they have the ability to share links. So if you want to share this with an individual that maybe isn't a member within your team yet, you got to expand code and config, expand results, and you get the settings of the underlying workflow here. You can come back and readjust stuff that maybe you wanted to, you want to come back there and readjust some settings that you wanted to change over time. You got deployments and inspector. So when you add a trigger, you're going to get this kind of menu here. As you see, this is kind of similar to Zapier with popular different triggers here. And then essentially we'll be able to search their database of what they natively integrate on. If they don't natively integrate with it, that's when you're going to use an HTTP or a webhook request. And then under that context, go to the underlying software's documentation and proceed from there. So before we proceed any further, let's go ahead and jump back over to accounts here and let's connect an OpenAI account so we can start accessing artificial intelligence with our flows here. So we're going to say create or connect new app. Let's do OpenAI. And just for my sake, let's make sure they don't have a native ChatGPT. And they do not. Okay, so we're going to do OpenAI ChatGPT. And essentially, let's go ahead and grab our API key. To do so, you're going to simply type into Google OpenAI developer, and then you're just going to sign up with your email, completely free. This is a usage-based software, so therefore there is no flat reoccurring fee. It's purely based off the amount of usage of AI you use. If you want to learn more about that, you can just type in OpenAI pricing. We're talking about fractions of pennies when it comes to OpenAI usage. From here though, once you're an account, what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to our main admin panel here, and we're going to go to view API keys. So we go to API keys here. We're going to go to create secret key here, and I'm just going to call it Pipedream. Don't try to take it. I'm going to delete this after the video. So if you want to go ahead, if you want to copy it, but it's not going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy our API key here. Obviously, it goes without saying, make sure no one gets access to your API key, as you don't want your charges to go out the wazoo here. I'm going to go ahead and paste it in here. And we can give it a nickname, so we can just give it AI for fun, and then we go ahead and hit save. There we go. So we got our OpenAI connected here. I have a Google Drive connected here as well. Let's go ahead and connect one more app here. We're gonna go ahead and just connect YouTube here. So I'm gonna hit YouTube. Now, when connecting a Google backend, it'll simply just ask you to sign in. I'm gonna hit continue here, and we should be working here perfect. So we connected our YouTube, we've connected OpenAI, and we connected Google Drive. Let's go ahead and jump back over to that project and build out a flow real quick. So for this flow, we're gonna go ahead and just do a YouTube as a trigger here. We're gonna go ahead and do the trigger of new video by username here. We're gonna select our account here. And then polling interval essentially is how often does the API check if this occurred. So for this context, we're doing every 15 minutes. The username here, I believe it's asking for this format. I may be wrong, so let's go ahead and see what this comes out with. I'm gonna create source. So it seems like the better option for this trigger would be just going by channel ID. We're gonna go ahead and create this source here. And one thing that's important is if you wanna do anything else when it comes to like actually manipulating YouTube, then you would actually make sure, connect to your account. That gives you the access to the API that allows you to push that forward. As you see here, we went ahead and created this event here. Also notice you can add more triggers here. So maybe you want to flow, which is actually pretty interesting. Maybe you want to flow where maybe there's a new YouTube channel video, maybe there's a new tweet. You want to kind of encompass it all within one workflow for multiple different things that could cause the trigger to go off. For our context though, we're going to go ahead and just go with simply just a new YouTube video by channel. And we can go ahead and test this event. If it is successful, as you see here, we'll get a green little box, and then it'll provide us a bunch of different data here. Now, as you'll notice, like always, the data is going to be formatted like this, which isn't too bad. So you can go ahead and find specifically what you're looking for here. From here, though, let's go ahead and proceed. So we're going to go ahead and say continue. One thing I want to point out, though, is that event was a test event. So in the context that you can't actually trigger the event, we can still provide it with test data here. I'm going to go ahead and change that to an actual real piece of data from our channel here at WebCafe AI, and we're gonna go ahead and proceed with this data. Let's go ahead and see how we can leverage the OpenAI block here. So I'm gonna go ahead and type in OpenAI, choose OpenAI here, and then we can do all these different options here. So as you see here, their way of structuring OpenAI in this context is having it all within one specific API call. So we do chat, summarize text, classify items into categories, translate text, create transcription, create embeddings, create completion. For our context, you would most likely always choose chat. From here, we're able to choose between 3.5 and all the different models here. So we got 3.5 GPT-4, GPT 3.5 Turbo 6. I'm gonna go ahead and up the model to GPT-4. And as you see here, this is where we're gonna put in our underlying message. All right, so let's go ahead and test this out by making a user message here. We're gonna say generate a new YouTube title. Use this as reference. Semicolon parentheses here. Let's go ahead and find that title right here. Now, one thing I want to point out right off the bat is, as you see here, this isn't the actual underlying dictation and text that you see in the title. It uses what would be seen in an API call and actually just gives you the straight up, data from that API call. So this is like front facing rather than like a nice little UI that, Zapier would show us, where it'd show the actual text of the title rather than the API call. From here, we're going to say make it more SEO effective, just as an example. And let's go ahead and see how they generate this output. And here we go. So as you see here, we have our output here. A couple things you want to note: to find the response, you're going to go to original message with assistant response, click down here, and then this is the response for that underlying input, the output in this context. And then as you come down here, this is pretty important. So this is the amount of tokens used for that underlying API request. So this is important in the context of building out flows and really understanding the amount of costs associated with each type of run that you do. So from here though, we have our generated output using Pipedream and OpenAI. Now, just to take this one step further so we can show you how to build upon OpenAI outputs, I'm gonna do another chat here. I'm gonna go ahead and say based on this. And I wanna point this out because there is certain tools that are maybe functional within Pipedream that can do this automatically, such as, like a Zapier filter, or a Zapier formatter. They have their own version of formatter, but I want to point this out because you can use AI to format text still, and you don't necessarily have to use a native integration found in the backend of Pipedream. So we can say based on this YouTube title, do semicolon parentheses, and then I'm gonna put the output found from that previous step here. Now, one thing I want to point out here is the actual UI to find previous outputs is kind of jumbled here. I mean, I have to scroll through this entire thing to find what I'm looking for. If I was going to build out a very complex flow, this would really get annoying after a while. So from here though, I can find what we're looking for here and then essentially put in generate again, but without quotation marks. Let me put parentheses here because this may not be able to understand specifically what I'm doing here. I'm actually going to up this to GPT-4 so we don't run into any issues here. I'm going to go to test this flow. All right, let's go ahead and see if it worked correctly here. And it did. Okay, so perfectly. So we got the exact same title, but as you saw previously, if I come back over here, this had quotation marks, but now we can format them out. This can come very useful. So essentially, if you get a lot of outputs and you want to deal with data and restructuring data, you can always use a ChatGPT block to do that now. So you don't have to necessarily do any type of code or Python or some type of formatter that's not using AI. I mean, this is a very simple and fast way to format data if you run into issues like that. Now, just to show you the functionality of this platform, I'm going to go ahead and add a Google Drive here and then essentially just do a simple action of upload file. Now, one thing I want to point out is when you build out these different flows and actions, it isn't inherently going to give you essentially everything that you would want right off the bat. What I mean by that essentially is I could test this action and nothing's going to occur. So you got to go ahead and make sure you choose the different option fields that you want specific to what you're trying to achieve. So for this context, maybe I just want to give the drive that we're dealing with and then the file URL, and then that is sufficient enough for what I'm trying to achieve. Maybe in some context you want to actually add a name to it, or you want to do an upload type and so on. So from here though, I can go ahead and grab the file URL. To do so, I'm just simply going to go to that YouTube trigger. I got the JPEG here from that underlying, thumbnail from YouTube. I can go ahead and change the name here to test up. And then from here, I provided the URL, provided a new name, provided where I want it to be dropped. I could have had a folder here. I'm going to test that action. And as you see, it has successfully upload that file to my drive here. Now, a couple of things I want to show you real quick is essentially, let's say you're working on a flow, and especially with ChatGPT, a lot of times you proctor it and the prompt may be 80% same but 20% different for the context that you want to do another step within that flow. In order to expedite the process of handling multiple blocks that are similar, we can come over to these three ellipses and we can simply duplicate the step, which is nice. So everything that was stored here is stored here now. Another thing we can do here is we can copy it and then paste it later, We could expand section, we can move the step up and down. And then as you see here, we can edit the underlying step, just simply clicking that, or just clicking the actual step itself. One thing that is really useful is you can go ahead and rename the step here. So for this context, we could say new YouTube title. So this is pretty useful in the context that, when you're building out complex flows, you can call upon exactly what each functionality of the block is, rather than just saying chat 1, chat 2, upload file. You need more context, you can rename the block. And once it is live, you'll be able to see it here. You'll see the test run, you'll see the apps associated with it, the file size, and so on. This is really, really solid stuff here from Pipedream. I will say that overall though, it really depends on your use case and what you're trying to achieve when it comes to automation for what type of platform you're trying to choose. I hope this tutorial was helpful in trying to show you how to leverage Pipedream when it comes to automation in general and integrating AI with it. To learn more about leveraging artificial intelligence for your personal and business life, make sure to subscribe here as we do daily artificial intelligence content. If you felt like you learned something, make sure to like the video. It's completely free and it shows us here at WebCafe AI that you prefer more content that is structured like this. Furthermore, we're going to provide you with a playlist at the end of this video that dives into other AI and automation tools with full breadth comprehensive tutorials. So make sure to check out that playlist there. We go over chatbots, we go over other automation platforms and so on. So you really learn how to start implementing this into your business backend. But without further ado, I'll see you in the next video.
Thanks for tuning in. And yes, surprise, I'm an AI avatar. Make sure to explore more here at Web Cafe, where we demystify AI for your personal and business life. Until next time.